Norway represents our friendly and welcoming region. We therefore want to deliver a further message direct to our communities. We are aware that criminal actions we saw last night can attempt to drive division amongst us, and we are committed to make sure that does not happen. We have incredibly close-knit communities here within the North East region that we are proud to be part of and proud to serve. This is just one of the reasons which makes our region such a special place to live, work and visit. We are stronger together.
Thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Kelly Checker and I am the Deputy Leader of Sunderland City Council. I want to start by offering, on behalf of the people of Sunderland, our heartfelt condolences to the people of Southport following the harrowing events on Monday. What we saw last night in Sunderland was nothing more than mindless violence and disorder led by a minority with an agenda of hate. What we saw was totally unacceptable. We know that sadly many of those in our city last night were not from here but came to cause chaos and stoke tensions, and I want to make it clear that there is no place for these people. They are not welcome here. Our teams have worked through the night to clean up this city. My huge thanks to them and the emergency services for their work to keep Sunderland and its people safe. Being here today, seeing volunteers from across our city come together to support that clean-up effort is heartening and reminds us of the warm and friendly place that we know Sunderland to be. Our people are our greatest asset, and we will support them, as they will no doubt support us to recover from the events of last night. We will continue to work with our communities and our partners in the coming days and weeks to offer reassurance, but I can say confidently that today Sunderland and its people, as we always do in the face of adversity, will come back from this stronger, better and closer together. Thank you.
Thank you and good morning. I'm Susan Dungworth and I'm Northumbria Police and Crime Commissioner. I can speak on behalf of the majority of our region and indeed this city when I wholly condemn the inexcusable criminality that targeted Sunderland and its communities and our police service last night. Violence, looting and vandalism, all this is not protesting, it's criminal behaviour. It is also not mourning the loss of those innocent children in Southport, with whom our thoughts should be. The families of those victims have not been given a second thought by these thugs. They've been used, sickeningly, to promote the extreme agenda of those who want to cause trouble and division in our communities. This isn't about taking our community back or our country back, as the protesters claim. Their violent, hatred-fuelled behaviours only bring our country down and create division, fear and conflict. I know every effort will be taken by Northumbria Police to bring those involved to justice and to get them before the courts. And this is backed up by the government putting extra CPS officers in place this weekend to ensure that speedy justice is delivered. I would urge anybody with any information that might help us do so to please contact Northumbria Police. My thanks go to our hard-working police officers who put themselves in harm's way last night, particularly those who were injured, and I wish them a speedy recovery. I'm also grateful to our partners, to our local authority, to our fire and rescue services who came together to protect our city last night and to clean it up again this morning. I thank you all. This is the true Sunderland. We will continue to work together to do all we can, determined to keep our streets safer and our communities stronger. Thank you.
I'm Kim McGuinness, North East Mayor. The first thing to say is the appalling behaviour of the violent minority does not represent this region, nor our people or communities in any way, shape or form. I was shocked and horrified by what I saw by a violent series of thugs seeking to disrupt and cause criminal damage and violence to this great city last night. The people of Sunderland are warm, friendly, hard-working and most of all proud. That is the reputation of this great place. This is a city of compassion and community, culture and creativity. We will not let anybody stand in the way of these values. You only have to look at the regeneration, the money spent in this place, the fantastic bars and restaurants, the fact that on any given Friday night, particularly a sunny one like last night, you would have had families out enjoying that. They were pushed into their homes by these people who wanted to riot. They will not define our reputation. They will not define our place in the world. We stand in solidarity with the grieving families and the people of Southport. It is now vital that we bring calm back to our streets. Make no mistake, those grieving families will take no comfort from the scenes that they saw in Sunderland last night or anywhere else where violence has taken place earlier in this week. I want to thank the Chief Constable and Northumbria Police for bravely putting themselves in between violence in our communities. They should not have to put up with this, but again and again they do, and that is what we're grateful for them. And I also would like to add my best wishes to those who were injured in the course of that action last night. We're indebted to you for keeping us safe and for standing firm in the face of sustained violence. Today and yesterday I've been in contact with both the Home Secretary and Number 10 about last night's events and how we can support our police and prosecutors to deal with the perpetrators swiftly and firmly, and how together we rebuild. They agree with me. This is not the story of this great place, and it is not the story of Britain. We must do all we can to support you, to face down the thugs who threaten the peace in this part of the world. I also want to thank Sunderland City Council and all the services who've worked around the clock without hesitation to do this clean-up operation and to restore the city back to the place that we recognise. And most of all, I want to extend my thanks and gratitude to the hundreds of people who told the real story of Sunderland this morning, turning up on our streets with their brushes, coming to reclaim it, to clean it up, and to make sure that they were standing strong in solidarity and saying, that was not our city, we are the real story. In Sunderland, love and solidarity will always shine through. Today we send a message. We will not tolerate this behaviour in our streets. Hatred is not welcome in Sunderland, it's not welcome in the North East. The thugs and the rioters will never win. I know the people of Sunderland in this region will continue to rally round today, as they have done last night and this morning. I cannot stress enough, I received thousands, and I am not exaggerating, thousands of messages from people on social media contacting me, posting about the fact that this was not that these rioters did not speak for the people of Sunderland, and that is the message that we cannot get out loudly and strongly enough today. Love and pride in our region and in this city will always shine through. That's what we're about. Thank you.
Mark, it's Jim from BBC News. Now, we've seen widespread damage across Sunderland. Were officers last night caught by surprise?
We became aware of this intention of holding a protest earlier on in the week, and we developed that intelligence in our policing operation. We planned for a peaceful protest, but we fully expected, due to the events which have taken place nationally, that there may well be disorder, so we planned for that. It was thanks to the officers involved last night, including officers from across the region, that support our operation last night.
Thank you. And will you be stepping up police tonight in Sunderland?
Our operation will continue over the weekend and into next week, where we'll continuously develop the intelligence, and as and when we need an increased police presence, that will take place.
Thank you.
Hi Mark, Hits Radio. Do you expect any more protests in the city in the coming days?
We are developing that intelligence, and again, where that indicates that there will be further protest activity, we will ensure that there's a proportionate policing presence for that.
And as well, we've obviously heard from the Prime Minister earlier this week about social media having an impact on these protests. Is there something that officers could do about that going forward in terms of cracking down on the misinformation that might have led to this?
So that is a tactic that we use both in terms of being able to develop our intelligence picture, but also to get out key messages that we utilise as well. Sometimes there is misinformation out there, and again I'd encourage people to follow the kind of appropriate channels in terms of local authority, Northumbria Police and wider partners for the correct messaging.
Thank you.
I'm Matt Collette from BBC Newcastle. There's more planned protests on social media, as mentioned. What's going to be done to help them in the coming days?
Again, I'd like to offer reassurance to our communities. We are developing that intelligence picture. Where we identify further protest activity, we will make sure we'll be there offering reassurance and dealing with any of those protesters. But let my message be clear. If we have people coming out there intent on causing disorder, do not bother. You are not welcome in our cities. We will find you and we will take action.
What is taking action? What can that mean for people who are involved in these protests? I mean, we've seen a car set on fire, we've seen beer cans being thrown, glass bottles. What action can be done for people who do this?
Clearly completely unacceptable behaviour, and they will get the full force of the law. 10 people already arrested. We have officers out now actively making further arrest attempts from those identified, and that will continue into the coming days as well.
What does that mean, though, the full force of the law? Does that mean arrest? Does that mean prison time? What can that mean?
That will be, yes, individuals will be arrested, working in partnership with our CPS, and where necessary putting people before the courts.
Thank you.
From LBC News. Can you tell us a little bit more about the accident that's led the amount of police officers ended in hospital?
Yeah, a real kind of tragic accident involving the rider in terms of an accident putting with a door, resulting in quite significant injuries.
And was that linked to sort of violence that was going on around them? Was that in the protest? Can you tell us a little bit more on that?
That was the rider had been involved in the protest and was kind of leading the protest when the accident occurred.
Just move on to the next slide. Thank you. What do you make of the damage to the square here? Obviously it's just really refurbished.
So I look around here and I see Keele Square looking as fantastic as it always does. Those scenes last night were very easily cleared up by our staff and our communities, and I'm grateful to them for that.
Questions for Susan?
Susan, Jim again from BBC News. What will you help in terms of resources? What funding will now go into deploying officers on the streets to keep people here in Sunderland safe?
So in terms of the deployment of officers, that's a decision for the Chief Constable. You know, she has the resources are passed to her to make those decisions, which are operational. Obviously, I was kept fully informed all of yesterday and the day before. This was not something that took the police force by surprise. This was something that there was a very clear plan behind how we responded to it, to not make it worse if necessary, but then to be there if necessary. I will continue to support the police in doing that. I will continue to have the conversations with government. So like him, I had a conversation this morning with the Home Secretary, who has already made that commitment about the extra CPS staff to make sure that justice is swift and we get people charged very quickly. And you know, there are limited resources across the whole country, and at the moment police forces are supporting each other in dealing with that. Within Northumbria, people's rest days have been cancelled. People were working through the night last night and are back on working today. So every bit of resource we have got is targeted, keeping people safe and protecting our local economy and our businesses.
Do we have enough police on the streets? I mean, I know before there's been a lot of kind of call to getting more police out on the streets. There's been cuts. We've got less police officers than we once did 12, 13 years ago. Is there enough to deal with these kind of protests, these riots?
If you ask me, I will always say we need more police officers, in the same way that we need more teachers and youth workers and doctors and nurses. But we work with what we've got, and we work effectively with what we've got. We are still down on police numbers from where we were in 2010. So, you know, we're dealing with crime and criminality that is different as well to 2010. So I will, as well as lobbying for, you know, instant stuff now, I will continue to lobby for better funding for the police force.
Thank you. And do you think there was enough to deal with the kind of scenes last night, do you think there was enough police officers to deal with what was happening?
I think there was, yes. And when you're dealing with that level of violence and criminality, in some ways it doesn't matter how many officers you've got out there, that is going to run its course like it did. So, yeah, my concern is that a police force and the police forces nationally are going to be absolutely exhausted if this continues through the summer. But yes, it was resourced exactly as it should have been last night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kim, have you spoken to any other regional mayors around the country that may have been experiencing sort of protests like we saw last night?
Yeah, I've been in contact with other mayors this morning, and particularly to Steve Rotherham, who has dealt with similar sort of violence across in Merseyside, and we are very united in our view that this does not represent our communities and that we have to come together to tackle this. Look, we want to see these violent criminals face the full force of the law in the coming days, and I have every confidence that Northumbria Police will act in exactly that way. They had a robust response, and that's what we want to continue to see. We also need to take on the social media companies that are allowing disinformation and hatred to spread online, using their platforms, organised criminals have used their platforms to promote these events as peaceful protests, but the last few days have shown they are anything but peaceful. And so anybody who thinks they're attending a peaceful protest, you only just have to look. You are not, do not do it. And then finally, we really need to take on these far-right groups. This is not what we're about. The people of Sunderland have spoken up loudly and clearly and said this is not what we're about. They will not define who we are. And so the message to organised groups like the EDL is don't pick our place, because you've heard the Chief Superintendent very clearly. They will identify who you are and they'll throw the full force of the law at you. We've got the backing of the Home Secretary and the Prime Minister to do that. And I think that's the case right across this country.
Are you going to be in touch with Ben Houchin? Do you have plans to do anything together for a real sort of cross-party voice for the region?
I was really sad to see what happened in Hartlepool earlier this week. We saw similar levels of crime and violence there, and obviously Cleveland Police had to react to that. I haven't spoken directly to Ben Houchin, but I will work with anybody that we need to work with to prevent things like this happening on our streets in the future. Look at this place. It is fantastic. As the Deputy Leader says, a huge amount of money has gone into regenerating Sunderland. On any given Friday or Saturday, you see crowds of people using these fantastic businesses. They have to be allowed to thrive if we're going to grow, if we're going to be the proud place that we want to be. And that is the message for me. That is what Sunderland is about. That is what the North is about. That's what the North East is about. And I'll work with anybody to make sure that we're preventing these things from happening again.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you can appreciate, thank you for coming. We're very busy from the aftermath of last night, so if you can excuse us, but we will provide you with updates later this weekend.
Thank you.
From the general public, no resident, stop. From your point of view, if you want. Yes, give me this. I'm Alex Clark, and you know me. Yes, I've worked with before. Contacted
It's okay.
Paula.
That'll be it. We send it.
I'll take this.
And a taxi as well. I still have a taxi.